This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1918. 9 Things We Would Do If We Won $1 Million Tomorrow by Julien and Kiersten Saunders of richandregular.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. Now let's get right to it and continue optimizing your life. 9 Things We Would Do If We Won $1 Million Tomorrow by Julien and Kiersten Saunders of richandregular.com. Remember back in the days, way back when life was simple? You woke up, ate your cereal, went to school, came home, made a little snacky snack, did your homework, all so that you could go outside and play with your friends. Like most kids, a good portion of our childhood was spent alone in our thoughts and deep imagination. But as adolescent years fade and you venture into young adulthood, those thoughts don't just go away. Rather, they evolve into more mature but equally silly questions, like what are you looking for in a husband or wife? What kind of car will you drive? Or how many bedrooms do you want in your house? The other night, as we were watching our sweet baby boy frolic around in his own little world, we wondered, what is he thinking right now? Watching his little wheels turn gave us flashbacks to our own childhood and one of those old, lingering, unanswered questions. What would you do if you won $1 million tomorrow? Admittedly and thankfully, the day we become millionaires is within sight after years of paying off debt, investing in the stock market, buying rental properties, banking bonuses, and living well below our means. But there's a big difference between the slow and steady grind and a sudden windfall of $1 million falling in our laps overnight. So for the sake of our imagination, we decided to give it some thought. Here's exactly what we would do if we got $1 million tomorrow. Okay, we don't share all of our numbers here, but it's safe to assume we're not starting with any debt and our net worth is south of $1 million today. Also, for the sake of simplicity, let's assume it's a net $1 million, no taxes, as in the payout you might receive if you were the beneficiary of a life insurance policy. Given the current market conditions, our current income levels, and portfolios, here's exactly what we'd do. Number 1, kiss the job goodbye. Mr. R&R works on the blog full-time, so Mrs. R&R would quit her job immediately. An influx of $1 million would push us past our F.I.R.E number and enable us to ensure that we have enough to live comfortably off our investments, cash, and income-producing assets. We'd likely work on the blog for a few more years at our own pace, taking a series of mini retirements in between. Balance on $1 million? $1 million. Number 2, pay off the mortgage, $45,000, on our first rental property. Today, we have about $45,000 on our rental property, so we'd wipe that out to boost our net profit on rental income and lighten our debt burden. This is also just a matter of getting pesky inconveniences like a tiny mortgage out of the way. Balance on $1 million? $955,000. Number 3, invest $350,000 into low-cost index funds. Today, the vast majority of our mutual funds are in tax-deferred accounts and Roth IRAs. Since we can't technically touch that money until we're 59 and a half without paying taxes on it or paying an early withdrawal penalty, our goal would be to put that money to work in a taxable brokerage account. This way, if we need to make withdrawals, we can do it simply by selling some shares. Vanguard's VTSAX fund or something comparable is our go-to fund, so there's no reason to change it up now. This brokerage account is referred to as a bridge fund. This bridge is the money we would have access to between now and until we're able to withdraw from our tax-deferred accounts. Balance on $1 million? $605,000. Number 4, prepay $75,000, our bills for 1 year. We first heard of this idea from a friend of ours, and while we were intrigued by the concept, it didn't really sink in until Mr. R&R jumped fully into entrepreneurship. The primary objective of doing this is to give you the capacity to focus on your business without having to think about paying bills. Secondly, it gives you a runway of a year to build your business without fear of not being able to support your family. So for us, this would boil down to prepaying utilities, HOA, mortgage payments, and setting aside cash to pay for food and other knickknacks to last us a 12-month stretch. We don't spend that much in a year, so it's safe to assume this would also cover some vacations and random splurging. Balance on $1 million? $530,000. Number 5, invest $250,000 in apartment buildings. We've grown more and more intrigued by apartment buildings over the past few months for a variety of reasons. First, Atlanta is steadily becoming a hub for more creatives and entrepreneurs, which is bringing in more top talent into the city. Secondly, as climate change continues to wreak havoc on coastal cities and other major cities struggle with inclement weather, we firmly believe more people will look to escape the extreme weather for cities like Atlanta. Lastly, as the student loan debt crisis continues to weigh on our generation, more people will find it practically impossible to build up enough of a down payment to buy a home, which makes them renters for the foreseeable future. Balance on $1 million? $280,000. Number 6, invest $150,000 in small businesses and entrepreneurs. We believe in small businesses, digital entrepreneurs, content creators, and micro enterprises. We personally know or have access to tons of people who have great brands and business models that just need a small influx of cash to help them grow their business and better support their families. It could be to fund equipment, buy inventory, outsource tasks or hire help, pay off debts or invest in marketing. But if they can convince us of the viability of their business, we'd be happy to invest and make a return in the process. We'd be particularly interested in minority-owned businesses with a stronghold in the marijuana industry, digital content creation, and financial technology. Balance on $1 million? $130,000. Number 7, make family problems go away, approximately $50,000. The fact is, there are some problems money can solve. We have friends and family with old homes, old cars, opportunities to study abroad, overdue bills, etc. Many of these are problems that a couple $100s can solve, so we'd probably spend a few months making a list and cutting checks to make those problems, poof, disappear. No, this doesn't correct behaviors or solve for bad habits, but at a minimum, it does provide some much-needed relief to the people we love that could use a break. Balance on $1 million? $80,000. Number 8, upgrade our lifestyle a little bit, approximately $60,000. We've been in our home a few months now, but since we're building a business and down to one steady paycheck, we're still taking our time to get our house to where we want it to be. Knowing the summer season is coming, it would be great to spend more time outside on our patio, have better movie nights with our son in the basement, and entertain our loved ones at home. All of this requires money and furnishings we don't have today, so we'd splurge a little bit on ourselves to make our home nicer. We'd also upgrade our vehicles to something more fuel efficient and spacious. Lastly, while we're at it, we'd probably do some wardrobe refreshing. Let's just say the frugal life is cool, up to a point. Balance on $1 million? $20,000. And number 9, start a donor-advised fund, $20,000. We've dreamed of the day we can start our own foundation, and a sudden influx of cash would be just the time to start it. While this is a relatively small amount to start with, our goal would be to take proceeds from our other business dealings or investments and grow this fund over time. The benefits of donor-advised funds include tax deductions on contributions, transferability to our child, and outsourcing of the day-to-day management of the fund. So there you have it. Nothing fancy, just good old-fashioned putting that money to work, planting seeds for the future, solving problems with a small side of splurge. You just listened to the post titled 9 Things We Would Do If We Won $1 Million Tomorrow by Julien and Kiersten Saunders of richandregular.com. I loved the thoughtfulness here on how Julien and Kiersten would deploy a sudden windfall of money. I can remember being a kid and daydreaming about all the luxuries I would buy if I won the lottery. My, how things have changed. I can say with almost complete certainty that I will never win the lottery because I don't play. And while lottery advertisers might tell you you can't win if you don't play as a way to lure you into buying a ticket, I'd encourage you to not fall for it. If you took the $220 that the average American adult spends on lottery tickets each year and invested it instead, after 30 years and presuming a 6% return, you'd have over $17,000. Anyone who wins $17,000 playing the lottery would be pretty thrilled, don't you think? So why not just do it yourself by relying on compound interest instead of luck? That being said, even if you don't play the lottery, many of us at some point in our lives might need to consider what to do when we get a windfall or an unexpected sum of money from an inheritance, legal settlement, etc. I think a good rule of thumb would be to treat any unexpected money the same as you would treat money you're expecting and use it to just speed up the timeline on your current financial goals. So for example, you could immediately pay off all your debts, set up your emergency fund, fully fund your retirement vehicles, and then use the rest to invest in a business, real estate, or simply throw it into an after-tax brokerage. When you have a current financial plan with a clear order of operations, a windfall can simply expedite the plan. It'll be tempting to spend the windfall on fun stuff and help your friends and family who ask, and all this is still possible. But I hope if this happens to me, I'll opt to prioritize my current financial plan. And that should do it for today. Have a happy rest of your day, and I'll see you on the Thursday show tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.